Hello, people. So, welcome to my nice, wonderful helpline that's live. I know I said that very oddly, but hey, it's life. So, I know one person was asking for a question kind of like this. Whether or not they are here, I'm going to start off with this one. So, this is from Algebra 1. It's asking what point would be a solution to this system of equations. So what I'm going to do first is use the guess and check method. That's the only way you can do this. So the easiest point I'm going to try first is going to be D. So I'm going to put that in red. And I need to remember that my x's come first, my y's come second. So I'm going to plug that point D into both equations and see if I get a true and true statement. So if I plug it into the first one, negative 6 is less than 4 times 0 minus 2. I'm going to follow the order of operations. In this case, it's do multiplication first. And I get 0 minus 2. Negative 6 is less than negative 2. And that is a true statement. However, it has to be true for both equations. So I still need to plug it into the other equation to make sure. So the other one, negative 6, is less than or greater than negative 5 over 4 times 0 minus 3. Order of operations still. We're going to multiply. We get 0. And then finally, 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Negative 6 is less than or equal to negative 3, so that is a true statement. So my answer is going to be D. Now I chose D as the first one to do the guess and check method because there was a 0 in the equation. And whenever I have a 0, I know that means it's going to be very easy for me to multiply or add. And especially with a fraction. If I started from top to bottom, then I would have to do some multiplication with fractions, which is completely doable as long as you write it out. But the problem will be it'll take a little bit longer, and you always want to start off with the easier answers rather than the harder ones. So, if you are tuning in live and you have a question, once again, just send me a message on Remind. If not, I was going to do some geometry practice today, live right now, because I did not put up a video. For Algebra 1 and Math 3, there's already a video on the YouTube channel. So, our first geometry question, and if you send me a question in the middle of me doing one of the geometry ones, I'll be more than happy to stop after I complete that problem and do your question. So first up for geometry, I'm going to note that this is a geo question, is asking us which of the following sets of numbers could represent the three sides of a triangle. Well, there is something special about triangle properties. If we have side A, B, and C, if you add any two sides together, it needs to be greater than the third side. So A plus B has to be greater than C. B plus C has to be greater than A. And finally, C plus A has to be greater than B. That's all you're looking for. So in this case, let's start off with that very first one. We have a triangle that's 6, 14, 17. So in order for this to be a triangle, we have to just do 6 plus 14. Is that greater than 17? Well, 6 plus 14 is 20. Is 20 bigger than 17? Yep. So that's a true statement. We can do 14 plus 17 is greater than 6. Definitely true. And then finally, we can do 6 plus 17 is greater than 14, which once again is definitely true. So that means this is a triangle. Now, if we took one of the other ones, like let's say we take the bottom left one. If we take the bottom left one, 10, 14, and 26, well, the very first problem, 10 plus 14, is that bigger than 26? Well, no, because that's 24. and 24 is not bigger than 26. Therefore, that wouldn't work. So this answer is going to be the top left one. I hit submit. I hit yes, and it gave me a green check mark. So yay, we did it. Now, the second thing for geometry that I'm going to go over today is going to be talking about circumcenter, incenter, orthocenter, and centroid. Remember, you have homework tonight, writing those definitions down 10 times each, which is due tomorrow. Nice, easy homework grade, and it will help you memorize these different facts. So, what I'm going to do for this geo problem is, once again, the same thing I do a lot of the times for geometry. I'm going to draw that picture. So, it's not a beautiful picture, but it is a picture. So, I'm going to stay quiet for a moment while I draw. Oopsie. So there's my drawing. Now I'm going to add in the other important information. We have a bisector right there. We have one right there. So, judging by what's happening, I know that we have a midpoint slash bisector. And that's pretty much all the information that we have. So, I'm going to shorten these words. Sir, which we said was perpendicular bisect. We had in, which was angle bisect. We had ortho and centroid, and I gotta try to remember these. This is why I should be writing them down also. So we want to go with, I did orthocenter last, which I'm pretty sure this is orthocenter, which is angle to midpoint. So I am almost certain this is going to be an orthocenter, a triangle, because all are medians. Altitudes have right angles in it. Hit submit. Hit yes. And I got it wrong. Darn it. Centroid. Darn it. So I messed up. And that's why I said I dislike these a lot in class. So angle to midpoint is the centroid, not the orthocenter. Orthocenter is the altitudes. So I do mess up from time to time. It happens. All right. Luckily, that was the hardest part of geometry's homework. Next, naming stuff. This was practice. So, once again, if you have a math question that you want me to answer live, please send me a message on Remind. Just take a screenshot of your picture, and I will get to it. So, here we go again. We're naming things. We have a line with 3 points on it. R, F, and T. And they want us to name this. Well, we know that this is a ray. And so there are there should be 3 different ways that you could say this. They want to. So we could say the most basic, which is RT, and we just put the little ray symbol above it. So we go in here. I'm going to click the ray that way. Capital R, capital T. Another one we could use is FT. And the big key for rays is you have to make sure that the arrow part is above the correct letter, in this case T. There's actually a third way for this one. It would not be used very often, RF, because it's still going in that direction, but I'm not sure Delta Math would take that one. Hit submit, hit yes. RF. Did I put it backwards? Oh, they did not. The RT and FT. They didn't like the FT one. Wow. So I was somewhat right. So the FT they were okay with. No, RT they were okay with. And then the other one that they were RT and RF. So that's just one where you find what they said was wrong, and then you fix your mistake. So next up, naming angles. Once again, 10th grade geometry problem. If you have an algebra or math 3 question, please feel free to send me a message on Remind, and I will be more than happy to do it. So, geometry is all about drawing. They gave us a triangle, RST, and they want us to name this angle down here. Well, there are 3 different ways to label this angle. The first way would be angle TRS. The second way would just be doing those 3 letters, but backwards. So SRT. And finally, because that R is completely by itself and there's only one angle there, you can also say just angle R. I'm going to go ahead and type in TR. Oh, I wonder if it's going to be upset with that too. TRS and SRT. Hit submit. And it was definitely okay with that. So they also agree that there was 3 different answers. And finally, the last question I'm going to go over for geometry today is identifying congruent segments. So this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hexagon. So let's draw this beautiful hexagon. Definitely does not look like what they have. And then we have a lot of letters. Okay. S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and R. Because I forgot to go by R first. Alright, so they have a couple different things. They have on this line, double arrow. This line, double arrow. They also have a single hash on those 2. And finally, they have a double arc on these 2. And they want to know what is congruent. So they want congruent. Well, congruent, we're looking for the hashes. And it says identify 2 segments. So we want the 2 green segments to say that they are congruent. Well, we have SY. And the other one, since I started with the pink angle, I'm going to start with the pink angle down here. VX. So if I type into Delta Math, SY, VX, I should get the answer correct. And there's another green check mark. So that's me going over the geometry homework for the week. If you have a question or something you would like me to do right now, please just send me a message on Remind, and I will be more happy to answer it. If I do not get any messages before 7:25, then I'm going to close this live stream. And you can always look at one of the old videos for this week, or you can still send me a message on Remind. All right, I got one message asking about elimination. So here we have an Algebra 1 question. It's asking us to solve the following system of equations. So we are given the equation 8x minus 10y is equal to 28. And the other equation I write underneath, 4x minus y equals 6. I'm going to add in my little tiny invisible 1 by that y to make life easy. Now, whenever you're doing elimination, you want to make sure that the x and the y are on the same side, and then you're going to have to decide, am I going to eliminate the x or am I going to eliminate the y? Well, in this case, we have 8x and a 4x. They're not the same. And we have a 10y and a 1y. Once again, not the same. However, we're going to use multiplication to turn one into the other. It's going to be much easier to turn a 4 into an 8 than it is a 1 into a 10. Because in order to do the 1 to a 10, I have to multiply by 10. Compared to if I just multiply by 2, it's going to be a lot easier because then I don't have to multiply by as big as a number. So 4x times 2 is 8x. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2y equals 6 times 2, 12. The top equation just comes on over. 8x minus 10y equals 28. From here, I have to decide if I'm going to add or subtract these two equations together. So I have my option. I can either do 8. I can either add them or subtract them. Well, if I add the two 8s together, I get 16, and that's not what I want. But if I subtract them, I get 0. So this is a subtraction problem. Now I'm just going to subtract downwards. So 8 minus 8 is nothing. It's gone. Now I come into my first problem. Negative 10 minus a negative 2. We don't like subtracting, so we're going to do our keep, change, flip. So now we have negative 10 plus a positive 2. Same signs add, different signs subtract. So since these are different, we're going to subtract. 10 minus 2 is 8. And then since they're different signs, you keep whichever sign is with the larger number, which in this case is 10. So negative 8 equals, and 28 minus 12, 16. From here, it's just house method. We are going to divide by negative 8. And we get y equals negative 2. So that is half our answers for this equation. Because remember, the point of elimination is to find where two equations will meet to get your solution, or if they would never meet, which would be no solution, or if they're right on top of each other. Since this has a y equals negative 2, there's going to be one solution. Now, I'm going to write my answer over here, solution. And I'm going to put my negative 2 in the y spot. I'm going to take that negative 2 and I'm going to place it into one of the two equations from the beginning. I'm going to place it in that bottom one because it just looks easier to manipulate. So I'm going to plug -2 in. And now I do order of operations followed by house method. So order of operations says to multiply. -1 times a -2 is a +2 equals 6. I'm going to subtract 2. Get 4x equals 4. Divide by 1. And I'm going to get x equals 4. So my answer is 4, -2. Which means I can go back over to my computer. I can type in 4 tab -2, hit submit, and what did I type in wrong? A 1. Yep, that makes sense. If you notice in my rush right here, I divided by 1. What I was supposed to do was divide by 4. So if I actually did divide by 4, I would have got my x equals 1. So that's what happens when you know the answer in your head and you just try to rush it down. You somehow put the wrong answer in. But luckily, since I saw that the computer told me I was wrong, I was able to go back and look at my work to see where did I make my mistake. And in this case, it was very obvious to me on where I made my mistake. If you can't find your mistake, that's when you ask another student or you ask your teacher to look over your work to see if the mistake can be found. If you have any other questions, just send me a message on Remind, and I'll still be here for a little bit. Alright, so I have another question here that is based off of graphing a system of inequalities. So, graph system of inequalities. So I'm going to just switch my paper over to a grid. That'll be much easier for me right now than making my own. And I have the equations. Y is greater than 3x minus 5. And the other one is y is less than -1/2 x plus 2. I'm going to draw my graph right here. So, I also have to switch the background. So, sorry about your eyes for a second. So, we are going to use red for this equation. The first thing that we need to do is find the slope and the y-intercept. So, m and b. So, m is going to be 3, and we always make it a fraction, so 3 over 1. That means we go up 3, we go over 1. Our b is negative 5. And then we have to look. This is going to be open dot because there's no line, and it's going to be dotted. So that means I can go to my graph, go down to negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Open dot. Go up 1, 2, 3 over 1. Open dot. And then I can draw my dotted line. Now, once you have one of them graphed, you need to find a point that's not on that line and plug it in to see if it's a true or false statement. So like always, I'm going to pick 0, 0 because that's the easiest one in the world. So 0, 0 is in the dead center of the graph. It's not on this line. So is 0 bigger than 3 times 0 minus 5? 3 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 5, negative 5. That is a true statement. So that means I'm going to take my shading color and shade towards 0, 0. And I'm going to get this a beautiful blob. Next, I'm going to choose green for my second equation. And we're still going to do the same exact thing, m and b. So this time, my m, negative 1/2, which means go down 1 to the right 2. And my y-intercept is 2. This still is the same like the last one, where there's no line, so it's going to be an open and dotted line. So I'm going to go up to 2, 1, 2, put a dot, go down 1 over 2, put a dot, and then once again, make a beautiful dotted line. I have to pick a point that's not on that line. Once again, 0, 0. It's so nice and friendly. I'm going to plug 0, 0 in. So is 0 less than negative 1/2 times 0 plus 2? No. Negative 1/2 times 0 is 0. And 0 plus 2 is 2. Is 0 less than 2? That's a true statement. So that means for this green one, I'm going to color everything below this line. Now, we have 4 different regions: a white, red, green, and a black. In the black region, that is where all your answers are going to lie. So it wants me to pick a point that's in there. I'm going to pick this point right here. That beautiful rose gold color. So that point is going to be, it's hard to see on my paper, but 1, 2, negative, negative 2, comma, 1, 2 down. So negative 2, comma 2. That would be a solution to this equation, or this system of equations. All right, so that's where I'm going to end this stream for today. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message on Remind, and I'll be happy to help you. Otherwise,